All right, good evening and welcome to the Walking Dead support group on HCAM. Sorry for a little bit of late start. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. First of all, my name's Keith O'Brien. I'll be taking over for Alex Mann tonight. Alex couldn't be with us. To my left, as always, I have Jason McCarthy. Sorry. And to the right, in my seat, is Vinny DiGiacomo. So welcome all. Vinny, thank you for coming down tonight, by the way. Welcome. As always, we go with the kill count. That's usually my thing, but seeing as Vinny's our guest host and he's sitting in my chair, I'm going to let Vinny take the kill count for us tonight.
So we have 31 confirmed kills, and Daryl had 12 walkers. He was the highest total for kills.
Excellent. I like it. So tonight's episode was called Home. I think we could get into that real quick. It's obvious that, what I had for notes early before the show started was, is it either Daryl goes home, meaning he goes back to the group, and I think we got there, or was it Rick is going home with his visions from Lori? So that wasn't the case. It's definitely Daryl feeling that he needs to return to the group, and he does return home, as I would say. Jason, what do you got for that?
It was almost not so much obvious, but it was pretty easy to guess that what home meant. There was only one real drifter out there. I mean, if you can count Andrea, but Andrea's time hasn't come yet. I don't know if she'll end up back with the group or not, but
no,
I believe it was definitely Daryl.
Definitely Daryl. Daryl in his eagerness to return home to the group.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, when we're taking notes on that and talking about it, at first I thought home could have been, a few things, like I said, whether or not Andrea was going to come back, but the more I progressed into it, I think it was a lot more with Daryl and Merle. So
definitely
interesting to see that Merle kind of, towards the end, the fact that Merle was not welcomed in per se, but he wasn't not welcomed in, but Rick was all crazy and he just kind of
He did technically save Rick's life.
Yes.
So.
He did. Well, I think Daryl kind of saved Rick's life there. But then Merle runs up and I think what did he pull?
Yeah.
He took a pole to a walker, or as Merle calls them, biters still, because he's a Woodbury a Woodbury refugee, as we'll say. So he's a Woodbury refugee, and what an ending. I mean, because the first 30 minutes, I think we had 2 commercial breaks in about 24 minutes of nothingness, and I'm screaming in the other room with the people that came up to see us tonight, and we want to welcome the support group members that came up to watch the show with us tonight up here at HCAM. Thank you for coming out on yet another Sunday night with the Walking Dead support group, and another night of snow. Lovely.
I know.
But
the show definitely started off slow.
This started off slow. I'm screaming filler episode, filler, and it changed dramatically.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye. I'll go there for the governor, and he takes out Jeff Foxworthy, the classic Star Trek red shirt moment of the show. So
he lasted about 7 episodes or 8 episodes longer than I expected him to. Yes. I'll give him that much credit.
But it was just great. And but let's talk a little about Glenn. All right. So Glenn, obviously, just to go with what Glenn's thinking, and I don't want to go somewhat from the end of the show to the backwards of the show, because in the beginning we see Glenn talking to Michonne hey, let's go back to Woodbury, and is Glenn, is he stepping up as the new leader of the group, or is he just out for revenge? But later in the show, we have Glenn saying to Herschel, Rick is wandering around in Crazy Town. So Glenn is fully aware that Rick is in Crazy Town. And I want to thank Kirk on the Walking Dead support group on Facebook.com for saying that Rick has gone from Funky Town to Crazy Town. Yeah. So my question to you guys, is Glenn a leader, or is he just out for revenge?
He definitely has a vendetta. He's self-proclaimed himself as the new leader of the group, more or less by default. But when the first issue came up, where was he? The governor attacked. Where was he? Okay, so then he was out for revenge. Yeah. Okay.
It was interesting to see how Maggie actually, her take on the whole thing too, when Glenn was talking to her in the cell, and just in there, and basically he's like, well, did he touch it? did something happen? So he really didn't know exactly what happened, and I think she got frustrated with him. There's a couple different things that are thinking, especially where she had the baby a little bit later in the episode. Could she be pregnant? Is she mad? Is she so? There's a couple things to look forward in the next couple episodes to see where it goes on this. But I really looked at that and said, okay, Glenn wants to step up, but you notice how Maggie walked away around towards middle of that episode. So I don't know if she wants him. I think wants him to step up because maybe she's afraid. So that's spinning that whole thing in my head about her being pregnant. So I don't know if anybody thinks that that's a possibility.
Could be.
She definitely has anger issues towards Glenn.
Yeah, you mentioned that because Tina in the other room says trying to work through some major anger issues right now.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping she's referring about Glenn and not what's going on in the other room.
Could be Glenn or Maggie.
Could be Glenn or Maggie, yeah. No, she's probably a Glenn fan. We're going to find out in about 2 seconds. She'll bang on the wall. But, yeah, I mean, Glenn's definitely, I mean, I see him trying to be a new leader, but in the same token, I think he's just out for all hell-bent revenge. And he did go talk to Maggie. He's talking about Glenn. Yeah, we know she's talking about Glenn. Glenn goes to talk to Maggie, like you touched on, Vinny, and he talks to her, and he still leaves. And then he talks to Herschel, and he still leaves. But then the firefight starts, and he comes back. Because he obviously knows, I hope he must not have gotten too far away.
Yeah.
But, so, again, my take on it is he's out for all hell-bent revenge. He talks to Maggie. Maggie can't keep him on the right track, let's say. So he was just looking to enact revenge and hopefully take Michonne with her, and she didn't do anything. She's very, very quiet until, like, her neck's on the line. And then when her neck's on the line, she goes for a kill because, the kill count you had, that Daryl had like 12 kills, she was close to it.
Yes.
I mean, the whole time she's either in the corner over here, like your buddy Chester, of the prison, or she's outside just hanging around on the bus.
Yep.
So that's good.
Where did Glenn go?
A Formula Run?
7-Eleven?
I don't know.
7-Eleven?
7-Eleven?
Right.
7-Eleven?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Good question. And yet another new truck. We got a new truck. I don't know. We talked about that.
Here's a quote that somebody was talking about who was driving the Walker limo. Said it was definitely a female. So I'm wondering if it's the governor's first girlfriend. Because people were saying maybe it's Andrea, but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Right, because somebody touched on that. Because Billy had mentioned the driver. Billy is it me, or did the driver of the van full of zombies go into the prison, or did she hop into the governor's truck? So even Billy's acknowledging that it was a female driver, but it was whoever it was. The driver was all suited up. Had a helmet on, had like riot gear on, because they obviously had to get out. I guess I had hoped that it was either the other group that got kicked out of the prison at the end of the last episode, or possibly Merle or Daryl, who did show up anyways. And I'm thinking, why did they bust down the fence? Because they just ruined the perimeter, and it turns out it was just another governor setup. So
well, she definitely didn't get back into the vehicle. We only saw 2 people get back into the vehicle. You had was it the shooter that was up
in the tower?
in the tower?
No,
he
tower
was
gets
killed. Not Hernandez.
Martinez.
But
it was he was in the woods.
He was in the woods. He
was
came
in
in
the
there.
woods, so maybe he came in.
And then the other guy.
That's true, because whoever was driving the Walker limo, call it the Walker limo, was obviously had to run out of the prison and get to somewhere. I don't know if we did see that person leave, or whether it was female, but it's probably, like you say, it could have been the girlfriend. It definitely wasn't Andrea. Looked like Andrea driving the Walker limo. It wasn't Andrea, because Andrea the whole time was walking around Woodbury. Where's Phil? Where's Phil? Phil Connors.
Phil Connors.
Exactly. Phil Connors.
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. So that's that. Does the other group get back in the prison? I guess that's a mute issue, because we didn't see anybody come back, and who knows where they went. What else? What do you got?
That's a good point. I don't know where they went.
We don't know where they went, so I'm gonna put that down as another gaffe error on AMC's part, and if they're watching, which we know they aren't, they'll get even with me. How about Rick and his Lori visions?
He's trying to
Nice
work.
that he finally said something.
Oh, to Herschel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they say? The first step is admitting you have a problem.
Trying to work through stuff.
He's trying to work through some stuff.
That's
It took him a while to say that too.
It did take him a while, but Herschel came out and asked him, "Is it like, was it Lori? Is Lori on the phone? Now you're watching Lori?
Do you see them? Do you see them all the time? You're searching for something.
You're searching for something, yeah."
So I think he's searching for meaning. In fact, he says, "I don't know right now, but maybe in the future something will come up of it."
Lou says the driver looked like Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
There you go.
There you go.
Star Wars reference number 2.
Star Wars reference number 2. That's pretty good.
One thing that we definitely confirmed tonight is that Merle is a bona fide psychopath.
Yes, Merle is a psychopath, and somebody had written earlier, very selfish, which is very true.
Yeah.
And I had put down that it's only a matter of time before Merle gets handcuffed somewhere else. I wrote on a roof, and I'll just say it. It's only a matter of time before Merle gets re-handcuffed. And now that Merle is back, not with the group, because he's outside the fence, and we had an excellent cliffhanger tonight, the end of the show. But Merle is all about Merle. He did follow his brother back to the prison, but I think in the end he's going to be with his brother, but he's definitely selfish. He didn't want to help that group on the highway. As he said, I'm not going to help anybody. I'm not going to waste any bullets if somebody's not cooking me a hot meal.
Yep.
I believe was somewhat of the comment. But yeah, he's definitely all about himself. It'll be interesting to see how he integrates back in, even though he did save Rick's life.
How long do you think Andrea lasts in Woodbury now? I mean, she's gonna know what happened. She's gonna find out what happened. Probably
Maybe.
sooner rather than
I don't know.
later.
Do you think she will? I mean, she might find out some stuff what happened, but again, him saying that he was not worthy and that she should take over. I think he's stepping out to kind of have her stay in Woodbury and take care of everything, and he goes out. So the less she's able to hear or find out from anybody else what's going on there, and just kind of controls the 70 plus people that are in Woodbury, maybe that's going to be his way to make stuff happen. So I don't know. I think she could be there longer than we think. I do think she wants to leave, but again, I don't think that she'd be allowed back, quote unquote, home to the prison anyways. And I don't know. What do you think? I mean, they may. It depends on how they let Merle. If they bring Merle in, they'll probably let Andrea come back. Who knows?
Well, I mean, Merle said, what did he say in the woods? He said to his brother, "I can't go back there. I almost killed the Asian kid, or the Chinese kid," and he said he's Korean. And what else did he say? And he said about Michonne, so he can't go back in there. But like I said, so it'll be interesting how he integrates. Along with Andrea, again, this is my take, is Andrea's a follower, and she'll always last. She's going to just follow, even if whatever happens to the governor, and Andrea will be around throughout the whole season, and Andrea will be around whether she integrates back into the prison or she does take over Woodbury, because they talked about, the governor said, "I want you to be the leader here," because he can't lead anymore. She's not going to be a leader because she's a follower, period. So wherever Andrea ends up, Andrea will be a follower. She's a great first officer, or second person.
Yeah. Number 2 at best.
She's a number 2 at best.
Yeah. That's a stretch.
What else we got? I got a comment online, and we got a comment from Alex, who's got to be someplace watching or commenting. Glenn wants to lead, but also feels like he could not protect Maggie. True.
That's interesting.
And then Alex's first comment was, Herschel is acting the same way about Rick when he lost his faith.
You're right out there on the highway.
Yeah, right out there on the highway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that makes sense. But again, we got another person that believes that Glenn wants to lead because he couldn't protect Maggie. So maybe, that's an interesting take because, like I said, I was out for Glenn just wants revenge. And does Glenn want to lead because he couldn't protect Maggie the first time around? So now he's going to lead and protect her moving forward. However, Glenn did leave.
But it's all mostly a moot point now. I mean, if Daryl's back, then Daryl's going to assume command if something happens to Rick. Rick's incapacitated in whatever way. You know, there's no way that Glenn would move into a leadership spot over Daryl.
Correct.
Isn't it a question that I'm seeing across? Should Rick's group make a stand at the prison, or should they go to Woodbury and take the fight there?
They have one last line of defense, and that's that last fence. There's no way that I don't think they can repair those first two perimeters.
No.
You know, they're down to one perimeter left, and they've lost all their farmland and everything else because that's all outside that inside perimeter. You know, and there's walkers all over it, and you know, so they have no means of food anymore.
Makes sense.
They need to find a new way to get food. So.
Here's one. He's justifying his revenge by stating that Rick is no longer capable to lead the group. Meaning about Glenn. Comment about Glenn.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Wow. I had to get a pair of glasses. Zach, I'll bring my glasses next time. Sorry, buddy. All right. So we touched on a few, and before we go, because I'm getting the 5-minute hook, two things we want to talk about. And again, I want to thank Vinny for joining us, in case I forget, as always. Next week's show is called I'm Not a Judas. Does anybody want to take a shot at that? Seeing as tonight was easy with home, and I think we got that one right finally.
I ain't a Judas.
I ain't?
I ain't.
I ain't a Judas?
Hey, it's not grammatically correct, but that's what it
That's
said.
what it
I
is.
ain't a Judas.
I ain't a Judas. I apologize. So I ain't a Judas. So, all right, well, then you take a crack at what that means.
That's a good question. I ain't a Judas. Wow. Who acted like a Judas? Who's been acting like a Judas? Good question. I'm going to throw this one to you. I'm not sure.
I was ready to catch that.
You know what?
I'm
We
not
should
sure.
count that as a kill count and kill you.
Andrea.
I'm thinking Andrea, but she's been doing a diminished role. I mean,
She's going to come out with, you know, how she wants to go back. We saw in the preview, Governor gave her the ultimatum. You know, if you leave, don't come back. You know, I think that what's going to happen with that argument between them is she's not going to stab her old friends in the back, you know, and be that Judas.
so then you think she is going to try and come back next episode?
I think she is.
All right. What about Daryl? You think it could be Daryl saying, "Hey, the whole episode, the cliffhanger at the end, why he didn't come back then? Why he stuck with Merle?"
I think I'm Not a Judas is gonna lead towards Andrea, and Jason hit it there. I'm going to go with that. I was thinking Andrea the whole time, and Jason stole my thunder. He's good at that at the show.
I am good at that.
And he is good at that. Andrea's not going to be a Judas, and is not going to help. I think along the lines of what you said earlier, it's going to come out that Andrea's going to find out that he went to the prison to attack them, and she doesn't want to be any part of it. She's not going to be any part of this, whatever's going on. The only other person it could be Merle.
Yep.
Because as you say, grammatically correct, which would put it right on Merle's speech vocabulary.
Could be
is,
both.
I ain't a Judas.
Or crazy. I ain't crazy.
And there we go. Somebody just put Merle's not. It's another vote for Merle from Tina. In the
That's
other
what
room.
I'm saying.
So that's next week's episode is I Ain't a Judas. So it's probably, I think it's going to be Andrea or Merle. So we'll go there. And again, then we will comment on what did we learn today. Another steadfast.
Well, we didn't do the quote of the night.
No, actually, I'm sorry. You're right. We'll go back. No, it's not. Is it quote of the night?
Well, we have a few
Vinny has a
things.
quote of the night.
We have
Let's
a
go
quote
with
of the
Vinny.
night.
Vinny has a quote of the night.
And
then we have the next bigger one. I am going out of order.
In memoriam of Axel, you're quite a lady. That was the quote of the night. I guess we also noticed that Andrea and the governor didn't see eye to eye.
Does that mean
Episode.
he no longer thought she was a lesbian?
It doesn't matter now. He's dead.
Good question.
Doesn't matter now. He's dead.
Hence why I changed it to thought.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kill of the night.
The kill of the night. We did skip this, and I did have this note. He goes, the kill of the night is death by Outback hatchback.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. After 2 commercial breaks in about 34 minutes, now we've got Daryl running to the rescue. So all the Daryl fans out there in Walking Dead, beyond our realm here on the show and Facebook, and all the Daryl lovers, all the female lovers of Daryl will say, wow, he came back in full-on fashion, saves that group, and has the kill of the night by slamming the hatchback down on the zombie's head. That was fantastic.
That was.
So before we sign off, we'll get back to what did I learn tonight. Vinny, do you have anything for what did I learn tonight?
I learned that Glenn was
10 minutes now?
10 minutes, okay.
10 minutes.
Yeah, the first one was 15.
First one was 15 or 5?
15.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was 5.
We need glasses.
I do need glasses.
All right, so we'll
Well, we're
slow
still
it.
on.
We'll slow it down a little bit.
Slow it down.
All right, so we're talking about the Glenn Tatership, as somebody was commenting on. Glenn obviously wanting to step up. So you saw where Glenn was wanting to step up, obviously in lieu of Rick being in Crazy Town. Mm-hmm. So that's or taking the wandering Crazy Town, right? So Glenn obviously wanted to step up, wanted to get Michonne over there to try and end this right now. Maggie wasn't feeling that he should do that. She was so again. I noticed that there's something going on between Maggie and Glenn. What it is, I don't know. Possibly could be a baby. Who knows? She could be pregnant.
You like the idea, huh?
I'm on that one. I'm gonna look into next week and see if something else comes on that. I think Daryl actually, when the shirt got ripped off, and Merle actually learning about his brother obviously being abused, and the scars and that. So that was interesting that they kind of had we'll say a mini bonding moment of brothers on that one right there. So that was kind of interesting. So you don't know. You saw where Daryl and was basically gonna smack the back of Merle when he was telling him to get out of the vehicle right there, and towards the end, they were kind of almost more brotherly, I guess, to each other. So it'd be interesting to see what next episode comes up there. So there's a lot of trials and tribulations that we're going to interestingly see next week.
Jason.
Anger. Lots of anger. And it doesn't, it seems to spare no one, with the exception of, a couple. Everybody seems to have these serious anger issues or revenge issues that they're working on. Guilt. It never seems to end. It just gets worse and worse, and hopefully, it's not something that's going to tear this group apart. But Maggie, Glenn.
Yeah, go down the list. I mean, because we have 10 minutes.
Daryl, Merle. Rick.
Yeah.
Carl.
Herschel a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Herschel's kind of calm about it, but
he's calm about it, but he kind of expresses his anger to other people.
Yeah.
Or throws it out there to other people. He goes out to the fence to talk to Rick, and we know he's having that argument coming with Rick sooner or later because we've seen it in the previews. Thank God for previews that we shouldn't watch. But yeah, that's a good take. Anger's a big part of the show.
I think Herschel, one of the steps on this, talking about the silent leader that Herschel's trying to kind of become, because if you remember, Herschel telling Glenn the rage is going to get him killed. And then, obviously he was basically trying to say, I believe that you could do this. I believe that you could protect us. But your rage is going to get you killed. You need to think of what's going on. And then him talking to Rick saying, Rick, you got to get it together, buddy. So I think Herschel's trying to silently get everybody back on track.
I'll agree with that, and I'll elaborate a little if I can.
You can.
The way I see it is when you look at, a kingdom, it's run by a king. That king always has the high wizard or advisor or, something of that nature. And I think that's Herschel's role, is to be that first advisor to the king, or in this case, sheriff. You know what I mean? It's something that I think definitely, I don't think he's wanting the role of leader.
Yeah.
If it gets thrust upon him, he'll take it. But, I don't think he wants it. But I think he's definitely that advisor. He keeps him in line.
Mm-hmm. I got a couple from what I learned. Number one, I cannot type and host at the same time. So Alex, wherever you are, you're coming back next week. God bless you. It's fantastic. because I can't keep track of this and all of it. So good for you. So you are missed by me. That's what I've learned tonight. The other thing I've learned is if you're getting attacked by zombies, you can get them with one shot. All right? Zombie horde, one shot. 4 people from the other group, Woodbury, you're going to waste about 100 rounds of ammo, and you only get one person, the guy in the bell tower.
Yeah.
So that was I'll go with a production gaffe. That's what I've learned. The other thing is just real quick, we go back to home, I'll agree that Daryl is coming home to the group that he wants, because Billy had touched on it. But the other thing is now it's almost like they have to defend their home, and the prison is their home. But it's definitely more, I think, along the lines that Daryl is returning home. And that's it. We got 5 minutes still. Wow. What else you got? Guess what I read on the...
I'm gonna take some notes here.
One thing I noticed that we didn't cover, I think one of the things that's going to lead to Andrea trying to get out of Dodge is the governor was all meek and mild and praising to her about her leadership abilities, and I think that when he comes back from the attack on the prison, he's going to be a whole different person. So if he went out and he comes back a completely changed person, that's going to be our first clue as to what may have happened. I think also that when she finds out that that this happened.
This is Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea.
Okay.
Sorry. When she finds out that this happened, so I was trying to formulate my thoughts.
That's okay.
Something
big.
You have 5 minutes.
I was buying time.
This is going to be huge.
No, I think that's what's going to happen is if I stutter enough. Do you think I can? That's okay. Hold up 5 minutes.
We can always go late. We have control.
No, I completely lost my thought.
Andrea.
Here, I'll jump in. I'll
come
jump
on,
in for
Vinny,
half a second so you can
Save me.
Save him. I'm typing. I'm not hosting anymore. I told you that. What have I learned?
Yeah.
I'm taping now.
Right. But it wasn't interesting, though. You did see the governor doing the Rambo-ish thing. He just totally snapped, and the guns are shooting at him, and he just turned to the side, and it's like he thought he was invincible. So he's going to come back and go to Woodbury and kind of knock a bunch of stuff out of the park. I really don't think Milton's going to last past this episode.
Especially if Milton finds out what happens.
Touching on Milton, because like I said, I can't type and host at the same time. Somebody wrote online, I think it was Kirk, if you're out there watching, that Milton could be the Judas on the governor in Woodbury. That's interesting. But seeing as we got 5 minutes to end this show, we'll talk about the ending of that show, because the kill count in the ending of that show was fantastic. I mean, it was a great cliffhanger. That was season-ending cliffhanger worthy. I got a kudos to Carol for using the human body shield so effectively.
Oh, yeah.
Because Axel took one to the head, and then she rolled the body over.
That was good.
It took about 30 more.
And she was, it was like a scene out of Saving Private Ryan. Rolled the body up, and the body protected her. So that was great. But yeah, just to see that whole thing, and then that truck, it was like trying to think of the movie reference where like something, like the truck drives in and the ramp drops, and then all those walkers start walking out, like the governor's just
SWAT.
SWAT sign, and
zombie SWAT,
and he's the governor's just firing into the air to make noise, so the walkers will just start spreading around. But now we've got, like we said, we got Rick, Merle, and Daryl on the outside of the fence. And we've got walkers on the courtyard, and then we've got everybody else inside this inner perimeter. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting on how they get back in, or they come out to get them. They're obviously going to come out to get them.
Glenn got into the inner perimeter, right?
Glenn got into the yes. He drove into the courtyard, grabbed everybody, and then drove up the hill and got in the inner perimeter. So everybody is theoretically safe except Rick, Merle and Daryl, who were outside the fence.
So Glenn would be the pseudo leader inside the fence, I guess you would say, possibly.
Yeah.
He'd be the only one wanting to step up.
However, but
Except
we
for
all know,
Carl.
well, Carl is going to make Glenn go get his father.
Didn't he just say, I want to be the leader, or something like that? I want to say, what would Carl say?
I don't know what Carl said. I missed the beginning of the previews, but the previews, it was definitely something along the Carl is we got, and then we getting the hook. So, all right, so we got, what did we learn? Kill count, I think we covered anything. Any final 15 seconds, Vinny?
Looking forward to next episode. It's going to tie up some things. We're going to really see whether Andrea actually wants to come back and whether Rick and the rest of the gang will let her come back. So this should be interesting.
Jason, any final words?
I'm curious to see if that zombie chauffeur infiltrated the prison and is hiding out, ready to sabotage.
Nice, nice. All right, as always, I want to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the members of the support group that joined us tonight up here at studio, came out on a cold night. I want to thank Zach and BJ in the booth there helping us out tonight. Thank you. Again, this is the Walking Dead support group. You can catch us on Facebook.com, Twitter feed, or here on HCAM. And have a good night.
Good night.